Idle Talk with Ron Zima, Idle Free Guy, helping fleets cut costs and look like heroes. Hey, welcome back to Idle Talk and about how heavy idling, or idling really of any kind, over time can affect life cycle. And here to talk about that in the second part, to expand on what he was sharing with us with those amazing metrics in part A, is Rix Longobart. Rix, how you doing, bud?
Good, Ron. Thanks for having me back. It's very rare that usually I get invited to the party twice. Usually, once I show up, it's usually never invited the second time. So I'm proud to be back. Thanks so much.
Hey, listen, I'll hang off of your intelligence any old day. So listen, come on back more times, okay, in the future. You've got a lot to say, and it's really valuable, especially in today's day and age of trying to rely on fleet assets longer and longer, and not sure how things are going to turn out in that area. And here we are talking about something we can all control that can impact life cycle, which is a key determinant of your whole fleet business model.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Ron. And it's even gotten more critical now than ever with respect to the high fuel prices that we're all facing, to the supply chain that is affecting everyone, not only from a fleet commercial side, but also as a consumer side too. Um, Inventory is depleted. It's hard to find new vehicles, even if you wanted to buy a vehicle. The price of inflation for a new vehicle versus what it used to be in 2019 prior to COVID is almost 20 to 30% higher. So this is a perfect opportunity to not only reduce fuel, reduce tailpipe emissions, but also potentially extend the life cycles of vehicles when vehicles are no longer, new vehicles are not even available to purchase. Every fleet is dealing with, what do I do? Where do I buy a vehicle? They're just not available. So here's a perfect avenue to solve some of those challenges that we're
And
all
Rick,
facing.
I'm betting that you're starting to see now, after hanging out with yours truly for 2 years, um, how big of a deal idling is now, right?
Absolutely.
Even as a professional, I mean, if your sites weren't really trained on it, and it's just hey, where's my priority? Where do I spend my time and energy and my focus on, right?
Right. Yep. It's like anything else, Ron. It doesn't hit you till it hits you square in the square right hand side of your wallet and or pocket, and then all of a sudden we want to do something about it.
Right. And that's our job here today, is as industry insiders, we can share this type of information so we can help fleet operators, because this is a big deal. It's underreported. Um, but those articles that you do find, like the one I posted the other day on LinkedIn, 2018 Work Truck magazine, it was 4 pages deep, really good. You got to check it out. I'll put it in the show notes. But anyways, let's continue on with life cycle and part B. But first off, I'm going to share a little recap of our conversation in part A. So, Rix, here's a recap, if you will, of part A. And why don't you take us through it?
Yeah, well, if we recall on side A, we talked a little bit, Ryan, of how idling ultimately affects the meter reading on a vehicle that may not necessarily be accurate because we can't see it move on the dashboard. But in retrospect, it ultimately happens because as we idle, that relates to idle time to miles. And if you look at the miles on a particular vehicle, it may not reflect it on the dashboard, but it certainly reflects it in true value. And so we're looking at profit software on the scorecard on the right hand side, looking at the score on the miles. You've got a high score, you've got a 7.11, which is ultimately affecting the value of when a vehicle ultimately should be replaced. Now, a lot of that is not necessarily on the dashboard, but it's ultimately affecting in relationship to the miles. It's causing a retro effect. on the cost of maintenance, which we're going to talk about on the flip side of our LP and side B.
Wow. So that's a direct impact right there from the key left on to the difference of period of time on life cycle.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And all those values intertwine, they're all interconnected. We just don't necessarily see it, but there's a methodology and madness behind it, right?
Yeah. So no, this is really, I think a lot of folks are going to find this really valuable. Rix, thank you so much. So now we want to take a look at how this pencils out in dollars, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I am going to go. All right. So here we go. We've got your thoughts about how this pencils out.
So Ron, in the previous slide, we showed a relationship to about every hour equaling 30 miles. So if we say to ourselves, a vehicle that idles 30 minutes equals to 30 miles, there's a clear definition of idling relating to miles. And if we looked at the previous slide and went back to it, you saw that the point score in the software indicates that that score is a 7.11, which is one of the highest scores of the 6 algorithms.
Yes.
We can make an exact same type of replication if we relate that to maintenance costs, because while every hour relates to 30 miles, each mile relates to cost per mile. So if we use a direct correlation to say between 10 to 30 cents per mile, and we took the average and said maybe 15 cents per mile, there's a direct correlation to saying every time I travel a mile or idle for 30 minutes, that represents miles. Miles relate into maintenance costs, because why? Because you either have unscheduled repairs, you have scheduled repairs because PMs need to happen more often. That has a correlation to the maintenance cost. So if you follow the arrow down where the circle is, you can see that the maintenance score on the algorithm is about 4.65. So the two highest scores are in the miles category or meter category and the maintenance category. So if we started reducing our idle, so shall our score in miles and so shall our score in maintenance costs be reduced. What does that mean to you? That means that we can extend the life cycle of a vehicle and get more out of our vehicles for a longer period of time if we simply idled less. And this is an example of how software in combination of human intervention and behavioral change can simply reduce cost, reduce replacement cost, as well as maintenance cost and staffing, which maybe side 3 if there was a side to another album, right?
Well, I'm just thinking about this, and I was thinking, I don't think anybody before, maybe in the transportation industry, has ever made the direct link between this cost. What do you say?
Absolutely. And why? Because it's not something that you can see unless you have some type of tool or some type of baseline that can prove to the operators or to the organization that clearly not properly using a vehicle or taking advantage of the fact that just because it's idling doesn't mean it's costing you anything. But
I was just checking my watch, by the way, too. I got to make sure that Rix gets to his beach party afterwards. Anyways, yeah, it's almost time for us to end the broadcast. But no, this is amazing. And, the direct link, the graphics and your explanation, and better than that, it's your perspective.
I want to point out something else, Ron, that I don't think we hit on during the demonstration of score. And that is, if you look at further down on the graphic,
yes,
you'll see two arrows.
Yep.
And you'll notice that we acquisitioned this vehicle for $43,317.59. That's our purchase price.
Correct.
You follow that arrow down where it says targeted costs. That's your how much have you spent to date on that vehicle?
Right.
Purchased it for 43,000. Our targeted cost to date is 42,790.36.
Right.
We have almost spent as much to maintain it than we did to purchase it. Now, in the industry, you don't want to spend more than 50% of what you purchased it for. So this goes to show you that that's where that score is coming from under the maintenance column at 4.65 as a score. That's because we've spent literally more to maintain it than we did to acquisition it. That's not a good thing. And
You're
a lot
saying,
of that,
well, if I got you right there, my friend. So the arrow there to the yellow box and the 43K above or off to the right is double what you think it could be because of just improper use of the vehicle.
yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Because again, going back to our topic, idling results into maintenance because the vehicle has to idle more. And anytime a vehicle has to idle more, that means there's usually unscheduled maintenance and other additional costs associated to owning a vehicle.
Wow, that's really amazing. I really learned a lot today in Part B, and yeah, your connections here with the graphics, Rick's really revealing. You know, again, just to close on that, the targeted costs there in the yellow square, in the yellow cell, $42,790 of what the target is to maintain the vehicle. It's not the vehicle, it's maintaining the vehicle versus 43,317, the actual purchase price of the vehicle.
Correct.
So, and that's double what it should be. It should be, as our friend is saying here, the industry average is about half of that. Is that right?
That is correct.
Right. Wow.
It's astonishing.
Well, listen, my friend, we don't want you to be late for the party. So, but thanks so much, Rick. This is really valuable. And I'm going to show them where to find you, of course, in the show notes and in the graphics as well. But why don't you just give a little plug right now, really quickly?
Yeah, no, thanks, Ron. My name is Rick Longobart. Again, as Ron has alluded to, calls me Ricks, and that's my legal name. I am the co-founder of Longobart-Ross Consulting and also the co-founder of Profit Equipment Replacement Software. We also do utilization and total cost of ownership, amongst many other things within our company. And it's been a privilege to be here, Ron. Thank you for having us.
It's a privilege to be partners with you, my friend, and take care. Thanks for being on Idle Talk.
Thanks, Ron.
Idle Talk with Ron Zima, Idle Free Guy, helping fleets cut costs and look like heroes.